Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be stepping into the world of online forums.
Okay.
Specifically, the Am I the A-hole subreddit,
Right.
where people share their personal dilemmas and ask the internet to judge their actions.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a particularly juicy situation for you today.
Oh,
A husband grappling with his wife's infidelity and contemplating divorce.
it's always fascinating to see how these online forums become these spaces for dissecting the complexities of relationships.
Right, and this one is a doozy.
Okay.
So our sources are the original post from the husband and a selection of the most popular comments responding to his story.
Okay.
A husband describes feeling trapped in a loveless marriage, doing all the housework, enduring emotional abuse from his wife, who also refuses intimacy.
Oh, wow.
Now get this, he discovers his wife is having an affair, confirms it with a DNA test on their baby, and surprisingly, he feels relieved.
Relief in such a situation is definitely an unexpected reaction, wouldn't you say? It really makes you think about the state of the marriage before the infidelity came to light.
That's what's so intriguing. His post paints a picture of a man who was already deeply unhappy.
Right.
He even uses the term emotional abuse to describe his wife's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the lack of intimacy for over a year.
Wow.
It's almost as if the affair was the final straw,
Right.
the push he needed to consider ending a relationship that was already broken.
The sense of being trapped is palpable in his words.
Yeah.
And it highlights a crucial point. Infidelity doesn't occur in a vacuum.
Right.
It's often a symptom of deeper issues within the relationship.
And that's where the comment section gets really interesting.
Oh, okay.
You see a whole spectrum of reactions. Empathy, outrage, skepticism.
Yeah.
Some commenters are fiercely supportive of the husband,
Mm-hmm.
urging him to prioritize his well-being and move on.
Right.
Others are more hesitant,
Okay.
questioning the wife's sincerity and cautioning the husband about the potential for false accusations.
Yeah.
It's like a microcosm of how society grapples with infidelity and its aftermath.
Exactly. And it raises important questions about the role of forgiveness and reconciliation in these situations. Is there ever a path back from betrayal? Or are some wounds simply too deep to heal?
And then there's the added layer of the baby.
Right.
The child becomes this innocent bystander in the midst of this marital implosion.
Yeah.
Many commenters jump straight into practical advice. Secure a lawyer, protect your assets, think about custody.
It's a stark reminder of the legal and financial realities of divorce, especially when a child is involved.
Yeah.
It's not just about ending a relationship, it's about untangling a whole life built together.
And amidst all this seriousness, you have these flashes of dark humor popping up in the comments, these little nuggets that make you laugh out loud even though, it's a difficult situation.
Right.
Like one commenter compared the wife to putting on a chastity belt for the husband, but having a welcome sign for someone else.
Oh, wow.
It's brutal, but it perfectly captures the hypocrisy of the situation.
It's fascinating how humor can be used to cope with difficult situations.
Right.
It's a way to acknowledge the absurdity of it all, to find a release valve for the tension and pain.
Totally. And then there's the suggestion that the husband should respond with, invent a time machine and unfuck the random dude when asked what he wants.
That one definitely got a chuckle out of me.
Yeah.
It highlights the utter futility of the wife's attempts at reconciliation at this point.
Right.
Some actions have irreversible consequences.
But amidst all the jokes and legal advice, there's this recurring question.
Okay.
Could postpartum depression be a factor in the wife's behavior?
Oh.
Some commenters see it as a potential explanation, while others argue it doesn't excuse infidelity or abuse.
It's a complex and sensitive issue, and it's crucial to approach it with nuance.
Right.
Postpartum depression is a real and debilitating condition that can affect a woman's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. However, it's essential to remember that PPD is not a free pass for harmful actions.
Right.
It's a medical condition that requires professional help
Yeah.
and should never be used to justify abuse or infidelity.
That's an important distinction to make.
Yeah.
And it's something that often gets lost in the heated back and forth of online forums.
Absolutely. And this is where it's crucial to move beyond the anecdotes and seek expert knowledge.
Right.
Diagnosing and treating PPD requires professional help, not internet speculation. It's a hormonal and chemical shift in the brain that requires specialized care.
Yeah.
And if left untreated, it can have devastating consequences for the mother, the child, and the entire family.
You bring up a really important point there.
Yeah.
The impact on the whole family. This situation isn't just about the husband and wife, it's about the child caught in the middle.
Right.
And that leads us to a question we'll explore further in the next part of our deep dive. What are the long-term ramifications of this marital breakdown for the child?
It's a question that takes us beyond the immediacy of the infidelity and forces us to consider the lasting effects on everyone involved.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into the ethical dilemmas, societal expectations, and the long-term consequences of this story.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of online relationship drama.
Yeah, it's been fascinating and honestly heartbreaking
Yeah.
to see how this story has resonated with so many people in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, these are issues that touch a nerve.
Absolutely. And one of the most common threads we see is the practical advice being offered,
Right.
particularly about the financial and legal implications of divorce.
Mm-hmm.
It's a recurring reminder that ending a marriage isn't just about emotions. It
Yeah.
often becomes a complex legal and financial process.
Right, and the comment section almost turns into a crash course in divorce proceedings.
Uh-huh.
Get a good lawyer, document everything, protect your assets.
Yeah.
It's a sobering reality check for anyone considering separation.
Especially when a child is involved.
Right.
Suddenly, the stakes become much higher.
Yeah.
It's no longer just about two adults parting ways.
Right.
It's about ensuring the child's well-being and navigating the complexities of custody arrangements.
And some commenters even go so far as to suggest the husband seek full custody,
Right.
citing concerns about the wife's emotional stability and potential for neglect.
It's a drastic step, and it highlights the ethical dilemmas that arise when a marriage breaks down. What's best for the child?
Right.
How do you balance the rights of the parents with the need to protect the child from potential harm?
Yeah.
These are weighty questions with no easy answers.
Definitely. And then there's this whole other layer of societal judgment that comes into play.
Right.
How do we as a culture view infidelity?
Mm-hmm.
Is it always an unforgivable betrayal?
Right.
Are there circumstances where it can be understood,
Yeah.
maybe even forgiven?
The comments on this post reflect a wide spectrum of opinions on that very question.
Yeah.
Some see cheating as a black and white issue, a
Yeah.
fundamental violation of trust that can never be repaired.
Right.
Others take a more nuanced view, acknowledging that relationships are complex, and sometimes people make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder that there's no universal moral code when it comes to infidelity.
Yeah.
Each situation is unique.
And it's almost impossible to judge without knowing all the details, which we obviously don't have in this case.
Right.
We're seeing a snapshot of this couple's life, a glimpse into their struggles.
Yeah.
But it's only one side of the story.
Exactly. And it's important to keep that in mind as we analyze the situation.
Right.
We can't know the full context, the motivations, the history that led to this point. But
Mhm.
even with those limitations, it's an opportunity to reflect on broader themes of marital expectations, the pressures of parenthood, and how couples navigate challenges.
And speaking of challenges, let's circle back to the issue of emotional abuse, which the husband alleges he experienced.
Yeah.
It's a topic that often gets overshadowed by the more dramatic element of infidelity.
Mhm.
But it's absolutely crucial to address.
You're right.
Yeah,
Emotional abuse can be insidious, often subtle, and difficult to pinpoint,
right.
but it's just as damaging as physical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It erodes a person's self-worth, creates a climate of fear and control, and can have long-lasting psychological effects.
And the husband's descriptions of constant criticism, belittling, and controlling behavior certainly resonated with many commenters.
Uh-huh.
It's clear that this is a form of abuse that many people have experienced,
Yeah.
either personally or through someone they know.
It's a reminder that these issues are far more common than we might realize,
Mm-hmm.
and it's essential to shed light on them.
Right.
Recognizing the signs of emotional abuse, understanding its impact, and knowing where to seek help is crucial.
Absolutely. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore the long-term consequences of this situation, not just for the husband and wife, but for the child caught in the middle.
We'll delve into the challenges of co-parenting, the potential for healing, and the possibility of creating a positive future even after a painful and messy separation.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. We've been unpacking this incredibly complex situation, a marriage shattered by infidelity and allegations of emotional abuse. And we left you with a question to ponder. Would the reactions and advice be different if the roles were reversed? If it were the wife who discovered her husband's infidelity after enduring emotional abuse, would the online court of public opinion be as quick to side with her?
It's a question that forces us to confront societal expectations and gender biases. Would the husband be painted as the villain to the same extent? Would the wife be pressured to forgive and reconcile?
It's hard to say for sure, but based on the comments we've seen, I think there's a possibility that the reactions might be different. There's a tendency, even in today's world, to hold women to a different standard when it comes to fidelity.
You're right. The idea of the forgiving wife is still deeply ingrained in our cultural narratives, and there's often a pressure on women, especially mothers, to prioritize the family unit above their own well-being.
Exactly. There might be comments suggesting she didn't do enough to keep her husband happy, that she somehow drove him to stray. It's a pattern we see time and time again.
And it speaks to the deeply rooted gender roles that still influence how we view relationships. The burden of maintaining a marriage is often placed disproportionately on women.
But I also think there's been a shift in recent years, a growing awareness of the insidious nature of emotional abuse and the damage it inflicts if the wife were the one who had experienced that kind of abuse. I believe there would be more voices urging her to leave, to prioritize her own safety and mental health.
I agree. There's a growing understanding that emotional abuse is not something to be tolerated or minimized. It's a form of control and manipulation that can have devastating long-term effects.
Absolutely. So while there might still be judgment and blame, I think there would also be a stronger undercurrent of support for a woman who chose to walk away from an abusive relationship, even if infidelity were involved.
It's a sign of progress, a recognition that people deserve to be in relationships that are safe, respectful, and fulfilling regardless of gender.
Now let's shift our focus to the long-term consequences of this situation, particularly for the child. The divorce might be the ending of the marriage, but it's the beginning of a whole new chapter one, where co-parenting becomes the central challenge.
And it's a challenge that requires an incredible amount of maturity, communication, and putting the child's needs first. It's about finding a way to separate the personal hurt and resentment from the responsibility of raising a child together.
Easier said than done, right, especially when there's been betrayal and a breakdown of trust.
Absolutely, but for the sake of the child, both parents need to find a way to coexist, to communicate effectively, and to create a stable and loving environment.
And that might involve seeking outside help, like therapy or mediation, to establish healthy boundaries and navigate those difficult conversations.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even though the romantic relationship has ended, the parental relationship is lifelong.
And what about the question of whether to tell the child about the infidelity? It's something that comes up a lot in these situations.
It's a tough one, and there's no easy answer. It depends on the child's age, their maturity level, and the specific circumstances, but in general, I think it's best to shield children from adult complexities that they might not be ready to process.
I agree the focus should be on reassuring the child that they are loved, that the separation is not their fault, and that both parents will continue to be there for them.
Exactly. It's about creating a sense of stability and security in the midst of change.
This has been a heavy and emotionally charged deep dive, but I think it's important to end on a note of hope. Even though this marriage has ended in a painful way, there's still potential for healing and growth for everyone involved.
Absolutely. The husband and wife can learn from their mistakes, seek support, and build healthier relationships in the future. And they can learn to co-parent effectively, putting the child's needs first and creating a positive environment for their growth and development.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always the possibility of a brighter future. And if you're out there facing similar challenges, please know that you are not alone. There are resources available, people who care and support systems that can help you navigate the difficult path ahead.
And remember, seeking professional help, whether it's therapy, counseling, or support groups, is a sign of strength, not weakness. It's about taking proactive steps to heal and build a better future.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a difficult but important conversation. And if you're interested in exploring more captivating stories and insightful analysis of human behavior, be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul on your favorite podcast platform.
And for even more thought-provoking content, check out the Shauna Polage YouTube channel.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.